This is Motoko Bootcamp 2023 and the lecture on canister interfacing, admin, result, and shareable types. So the idea today is to build a canister. So we have the main.emo as usually and dfx.json. And the idea is to build something where we can store secret informations and only an admin will be able to read those informations. So there are three components to this lecture. The first one is the admin. How do we implement an admin system? The second one is the type result. So result is a type from the Motoko base library. So you should already have seen this type in the bootcamp, but I'm going to explain a bit more how you can use it. This is this one. It's a type to deal with errors. So this is going to be useful. For example, if someone is not an admin, we want to return an error message. So we are going to use this type. Result to how do we deal with errors. And the third component of this lecture, it's going to be the shareable types. So shareable types. This answers the question of what kinds of data can we exchange between canisters, or what can we like interface, because some data can only be private to the canister. Some of the data can also be shared to the outside. So yeah, just gonna create a README so I can keep those questions. And the idea is that today, at the end of this lecture, we have an answer to the three questions here. Okay, so as usually, we define our actor, we give it a name. So let's say secret actor. The first thing we want to do is to define a data structure to store the secrets. To do that, we will, I think for today, we will use a buffer. So we've already seen that. We import the buffer library. This is going to be a buffer of type text. So the secrets are going to be text. And we initialize it with a capacity of 0. It's going to grow automatically. Okay, so first part, the admin system. We want to build functions where we can add admin, where we can see admins, and a function where we can remove admin. The first thing would be to define an array of admins. So that would be an array of principal. We haven't seen principals that much during the week, but this is very important concept. It's also something that is a base type in Motoko. The principals are used to identify entities. So it can be a canister ID is going to be a principal. Also, when you check your identity, so dfx identity get principal, this is your identity. If you want to go a bit more deeper, your principal is derived from your public key. And it's basically an equivalent of your identity. So this is how we define the admins. And I think we want to initialize with at least one admin. So I'm going to put myself as an admin to start with. And this is text. So let me comment that. This is text, and we have a function in the principal library here, which is from text. It takes a text, a textual representation of a principal, and it returns the principal value. So we want to use that here, principal from text. Okay. Let's go with the public function add admin. So we need to get the principal of the admin we want to add. So let's say P. And then this is where we are going to use the result type. So we want to import result from the base library again. And here we are going to use results.results. And this is how we define it. Once again, it's like a buffer. You have to import the type result from the result library. And the type result is defined with two other types. So we have to give a type to the OK and a type to the error. And what I mean by this is that you put the type corresponding to the OK here and the type corresponding to the error here. Usually what is a good practice is to have unit type for OK and a text message for the error, so you can get a bit more information on what kind of error you have. So first thing we want to do is to check that the person calling this function is an admin. We want to make sure that only an admin can add another admin. And to do that, we need to get the caller. So we can do with this syntax, public function, it's the other way around, public shared. It's always picky with the order, but it's public shared caller function, and the caller is gonna be the principal of the person calling the function. And now we can check if the caller is inside the admin array. To do that, we can use one of the functions of the array library. So array. Let's see if we have something like init freeze find. It seems that we don't have directly a contain method, so maybe we can create it. Function is admin. So this time it's a private function. I can specify it. If I just put function, it's also gonna be private by default. And I want this function to take a principal and return true if the, so it's gonna return true if the principal P is an admin and false otherwise. And so I'm gonna check switch array dot, I want to use this one, or maybe I can also just do something very simple. I can just loop over the array for admin in admins.values. I'm gonna check all the values. If admin is equal to P, then I'm returning true, and otherwise at the end of the loop, I'm returning false. So let's say if not is admin, the caller. So if the caller is not an admin, we want to return an error message. And so you are not an admin, like this. So this is what I meant earlier when I say that the type of the error is defined here. And as you can see, we have error. And then inside the error, you open the parenthesis and you specify a message to get more information on the error. Okay? Otherwise, if if the admin is if the caller is an admin, we will do admins is equal to array.append principal, and so this is the append method. It's a depreciated method, but it's okay to use it here because we are not gonna add like tons of admin. No, not here. Let me find it. Yeah, it's here. So array.append is the method that enables us to add two arrays together. It's depreciated once again because it's not very efficient, because as I said earlier, whenever you want to modify an array, you cannot just add methods, or you cannot just add elements. It's not a buffer, so you have to copy all the elements once again. But in our case, it's okay because it's gonna be very, very infrequent that we add new admins, so we can use that. But I need to import the array library. And so now we need to return OK. And once again, this is a method where we need to specify the type inside the array. So the X here, the generic type, is going to be the principal because we have an array of principal. And this is an expression of type principal, and it needs to be another array. So we can just do like this. Okay. So we have our first function. Let's go for the next one, which is to see the admins. So we want to just return a list of principal that is going to be the admins. And this is pretty straightforward. We can just do that. And let's put it as a query because we don't want to modify anything. Next one, remove admin. So I think the logic is going to be very similar to add admin, because we also want to verify that the person calling is an admin. We don't want anyone to be able to remove another admin except another admin. So it's gonna be like this. But instead of adding, we want to remove. So we want to remove some. And there will be like a different specificity for this one, is that we also want to return an error message if the admin that we are trying to remove is actually not an admin. So we can do it like this. And so we have verified that the person calling is an admin, and we have verified that the person that we are trying to remove is also an admin. And in this case, we can proceed. And so there is a function called filter. Create a new array. So it's taking one array and a predicate. We've already seen what is a predicate. And it's creating a new array where the predicate is verified. So let's create our function. Actually, we already have it because it's going to be a very easy function. So admins is going to be equal to array.filter with the principal. We take the array of admins, and the function that is our predicate is going to be very, very easy. It's a function that takes x, which is going to be a principal, and it returns is x equal to p. In this case, oops, I need to wait. Okay, so, and we return, okay. So what is x here and what is p? So x will correspond to any element inside the array admin, so any element inside here. And basically what array.filter is going to do is that array.filter is going to do a loop through all the admin inside the array and check with this function if the admin is equal to the principal we've provided. And if it's the case, then if it's the case, then the admin is going to be kept. So we have to do the opposite actually. So with this, we only keep the admins that are not, well, we only remove the admin that we want and we keep all the other one. So we can do a deployment and try what we've done so far. As always, dfx start, and then you can do dfx deploy. Okay, let's use the Candid UI this time. Okay, so I'm going to add, first thing I'm going to see the admins. I should be inside. Yes, this is my principal. Let's choose another identity. So if you want to check the other identity that you have all of them. I'm gonna go with the YouTube identity, and this one should have a different principal. Okay, let me show. Okay, I actually don't remember the password for this one, so let's use another one. Let's use default. Okay. So in this case, it should not work because from the Candid UI, I'm not login. So I am the anonymous principal right now. And so the call should be rejected. And that's the case. You are not an admin. But if I do it from my identity that is already an admin, so this is the identity with the name Seb. And this identity is the one that is added as an admin. So this time, if we call the canister, it should work. Can do add admin. We need to call, it's the name of the canister is secret informations. So this. Oops. And the function that we want to call is add admin. And the principal that we want to add is this one. Okay, doesn't seem to work because we are trying on the network IC, so it's locally. Okay, so it seems to have worked. Now we can go and see. We should have 2 admins. Yep. And we can remove an admin. And that's working. Okay, so now that we have implemented our admin system, we want to implement the functions that will enable us to add messages and see messages. The first one will be public function add message, so add secret of type text. This will return a NAT, which is the ID of our secret. This is simply going to do secret data dot add t, and okay, this doesn't return the index of the. Doesn't it return the index? So we can just do this. So this simply adds whatever message we send into the buffer. The second function that we want is a query. So public query function see secret, provide an ID and return a result type. This time it's going to be a bit different than usually. So let's see. We still want to return an error message if it's an error, but in case we are returning something, in case it's okay, we also want to return the message, so this will also be a text. And this function, because it's a secret, we said that we only want, so once again, it's very tricky with the keywords. Public query, I think it's public shared query caller. Yeah, I think it's in this order. Okay. Again, we want to test if the caller is an admin. If it's not an admin, then we want to return an error message. And if it's an admin, we want to check inside the secrets data, get optional. So once again, get optional is from the buffer library. We can do .get or .get optional, and I prefer get optional because if the index is not corresponding to anything, it's not gonna trap. It's just gonna return an optional value, and we can switch on it. So like this. If there is nothing, then we want to return a no secret message with this ID, and we can even return the ID to be precise by converting NAT to text. Okay. If there is a secret, we return okay and the secret. which is of type text. So this corresponds to what we have here. And I need to import the NAT library as well. Okay, we can do a quick deployment. So let's say we call the secret information and we add a message. Add secret. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not on the IC, it's locally, so we can remove the flag. Okay, and now let's say I use YouTube identity, then I will see secret. So it should be at the index 0. Ah, yes, I need to use the default one. You are not an admin, so this works fine. And if I use my other identity to add an admin, this is the principle of the default identity. I can go back to the default identity, and this time it should work. If we try to see something outside, there is no secret message. Great. The idea in the last part of the video was to talk about shareable types. So what can you share and what you cannot share within a canister. And so for that, I've created a new file, which is called shareable.mo, and I've also replaced indexfx.json. And so this is our new actor. And I have already went ahead and I have 2 examples for you. So the first one is the X array, which is composed of, which is an immutable array with natural numbers. And the Y array is constituted of mutable variable. So you define it like this. This is the syntax. So what it means is that we can do something like this for Y. We can take an index, so let's say the number 2, and we can replace this with 0, for example. So this is what's possible with Y. This is not possible with X. If we try, it's going to say that we expected a mutable target. Yeah. So this is all good, but now let's see what we can do with X that we cannot do with Y. With X, we can actually share the array, so we can just return it from a public function. But we cannot do that with Y. The reason is that we will get an error message, shared function has non-shareable type, variable NAT is not a shareable type. So shareable function is a public function. It's basically similar. You can add the keyword, but it's not necessary because it's assumed by default. Any public function is a shareable function, and any shareable function is also a public function. So why do we have this error? And actually the answer lies in the Motoko doc. So this is this phrase, which seems a bit abstract and complicated when you read it for the first time, but let's do it. Each actor in Motoko may use, but may never directly share internal mutable state. So this is our actor. Our actor has an internal mutable state, which is the Y array. So you can use it. You can define function inside, so private function that acts on this array and take, let's say we can do private function get array Y. You can do that. Sync variable not. This is not going to be async. It's going to be synchronous. And so this is totally possible, but not when it's a shareable and public function. You can never directly share internal mutable state. And so anything that is an argument of a public function, so an argument or a return value, that could also be like, we can also do something like assign array Y, and then it would take a new array, and it would be a variable NAT. And even this, and we haven't even like write anything in the body of the function, but this is already throwing an error because it's also non-shareable type that is an argument of a shareable function. So always use shareable types in your public functions, whether it's an argument or return value. And now the question is, what is shareable types? What is the complete list of shareable types? And so we can probably go the other way around, which is what is not a shareable type. And so anything that has a var is not a shareable type. So like if you define a student like this, it has a name, it has an age, and you want the age to be variable, so you would do like this, and a graduation field. And so if you have, let's do it. So we haven't even wrote the logic of the function, but it's already throwing an error because this is not a shareable type. If you have an object, if you have only one field with a variable, this is not shareable. And of course, if you have like more, then it's also not shareable. So for a first abstraction, you can say anytime I see var, it's non-shareable. Then if you want more information, you can go in and dive into the documentation to understand exactly what is shareable and what is not. One thing that might surprise you though is that you can totally do this. So instead of array, let's just reset. Let's do x of type not and do y of type not. And so public function show x. And so here you might say, oh, but x is a var and I can still return it. But actually what you're going to return here is the value of x at the moment you return the function. So you're not actually allowing anyone calling this function to modify directly x. And of course you can share y, of course, because it's an immutable variable. So I hope it provides some guidance on what is shareable and what is not. You can read, I advise you to read like the complete guide on shareable, but in the first approximation, you can try to avoid anything that is defined with a var, and that should remove 90% of the errors you're facing. Okay, we can now move to the Q&A session.